All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MSU FCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We're so glad that you took some time out of your evening to spend with us today. These seminars are designed to provide clear, practical financial education that you can actually use. The goal is not jargon or pressure, just information that helps you feel more confident making those decisions about your money at every stage of life. We offer sessions throughout the year on a wide range of topics, and you can view those upcoming events and register anytime by visiting msufcu.org/events. Today's session is also being recorded, and you can rewatch or share that by going to our YouTube playlist, so youtube.com/msufcu, and then you'll see a seminar series playlist there under those options. If questions come up during the presentation, go ahead and use that Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit any of those questions, and then we'll go ahead and address those after the presentation concludes. So today we are talking about something that really touches every family, helping kids build a healthier relationship around money. Financial literacy isn't, just a single conversation that happens in a child's life. It's really kind of all those small lessons over many years, and really, every family can kind of start wherever they are. So, we'll kind of cover all of those ways that you can help your kids learn through different phases of life. And we'll also walk through some of the youth account options that we offer. And then we'll talk about some of the things that are more in the mainstream with kids, gaming and fraud and how AI can play into it. So, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first, I'm going to just ask a quick polling question here. Um, so, at what age should children begin learning about finances? And then, if you have your own children, how old was your child when you began teaching them financial literacy? So, go ahead and just drop that in the chat real quick. Just kind of want to get an idea, kind of gauge where the audience is at. Good. So, we had someone that started in preschool. That's good. It's really where it should start. Although my kids are in their 20s, and unfortunately, I probably did not start that because I was not a financial educator when I was raising them at that age. And so I didn't know all these things. I wish I would have. So we have like 10 years old, and then in actuality, they didn't start really teaching their kids about money until they were adults. That's kind of where I was with my kids, late 20s. Okay, and then we had someone who started around 4 years old. So they're on a good track there. Good. All right, well, thanks for answering that. And it gives me a better idea. And hopefully we'll have, bits of information for everyone that's here in whatever stage you're in with raising your children. Okay. So did you know 82% of parents of kids age 5 through 17 think that financial education starts at home? So they do believe that. They know that. But um, teaching financial literacy at a young age is really going to help their kids develop those healthy lifelong financial habits. So yes, the parents, we all know that we really need to start, that this starts at home. They're probably not going to get a lot of this in schools, as we all know. So this is really the importance around the things that we'll learn tonight. Oh, and a quick fun fact, um, research does show that kids start kind of developing those money habits as early as age 5. So really those everyday choices that they see us make, how we shop or how we save or how we even like talk about money or how we pay bills, things like that, kind of already teaching them those habits even from that age. So we will kind of explore the age appropriate concepts that you can use from toddler through teen years. So those things that you should start and when to start them, how to make learning fun and real, kind of using everyday life in different games. We'll share some of those apps that MSUFCU offers also as the kids grow. And I'll kind of share some things of what worked with my family as they grew. And then we'll talk about what MSU FCU offers as far as our youth accounts go and those benefits for your children, different, features of each youth account as they go through those phases. Um, and then the apps and different tools and things that will grow along with your child as they have their account. So this is just kind of a recap of all of our youth accounts, starting with, age 0 to 2, the Sweet Pea account. Then it transitions into the Dollar Dog account from age 3 to 6. Cyber Saver, age 7 to 10. This is when they can kind of start using that, the mobile app or computer line login to actually look at their account, maybe see how their savings is growing over time, things like that. They can also get a prepaid Visa at that time. So that might be a scary idea for a lot of parents. But, credit cards are a part of life these days, right? So really teaching that responsibility from even that young age of, 7 to 10 years old could be beneficial for them. And then the Money Club account, ages 11 through 13. This is when they are able to get their own checking account, and kind of learn the responsibilities that go around that with a debit card and things. And then finally, ages 14 to 17 is our CU Succeed account. So this one, we do offer a youth visa, with the adult cosigner on that. It does have a small limit. So that will help kind of you know, keep them budget minded as they use this. And then there's apps. Those are the apps that go along with each age range, that you can find on the App Store. All of our youth accounts also can are eligible to have certificates on them, so that can help, get some better dividend earning potential, with the money that they're saving. And we also offer the Coverdell educational savings accounts. So if you're saving for college, for your kids, those accounts allow, I believe, up to $2,000 a year. And then the child can use those funds up to age 30 for any like school related purchases. All right, so let's start with the pre-kindergarten and younger age, right? So at this age, it's really all about exposure to certain concepts like needs versus wants and maybe some basic goal setting. So this is going to help them learn prioritization, you know, it's going to help them learn the purpose of money and kind of help them along with those simple decision making, um, you know, ideas when it comes to money. So like for this age range, I know I did have my kids kind of start with like putting money in a jar, piggy bank, that type of thing. And then like once they got to a certain dollar amount, we would go usually to the dollar store or something like that, right? So that did help with kind of that delayed gratification, like, okay, if I put money in and save and if I work hard, then I can get this prize, right? So just those really simple basic concepts like that. Another one, that we like to talk about is like the 3 jar system. So save, spend, and share. So that really drives home that initial concept of paying yourself first, which is something we teach, in all of our programs all the way through adulthood, obviously. But really, paying yourself first is in saving for your future, right? So it really helps them also to know that like when money does come in, that saving it should always be a part of that, right? As well as helping others when we're able to do that. So I also like that concept of those 3 different jars and kind of anytime money is received, kind of splitting it up between those categories. All right, so young elementary. So some of the concepts here, needs versus wants, and again, like having priorities when it comes to money, and then actually knowing the different bills and coins and how to count that. So they are, usually kids are getting more into math during this time, so really connecting those numbers to what money is. So yes, practice with them identifying coins, counting coins. Even though we don't use cash and coins a lot anymore these days. Still important, right? Maybe their first job, it would be something where they're dealing with cash. So they're going to need that skill. Uh, another thing that I did when my kids were younger, when they would save up that certain amount of money, uh, actually talk about what they're going to do with it once they get to the store, right? So planning ahead, not just being, an impulse shopper, like a lot of us are, right? So that just kind of gives them that idea, kind of keeps that front of mind. And then the older elementary years. So this is when kids can really understand more like making that change, calculating different costs. Um, this is a good age where, if they have like a book fair at school, you could give them $20 and, figure out with tax, maybe even, this is where they could kind of start calculating those type of things, how many books they'd be able to buy with that $20. Once again, making priorities and planning ahead. Another activity could be to like compare prices, maybe between two different brands of items, right? And then asking your child which one is the better deal, right? Or if I'm getting this, if am I getting more for my money by purchasing this option A or option B, right? So really good thing to do in everyday life when you're shopping, things like that. Um, Bring your kids to the store with you, right? Let them kind of see how you budget. Around this age, they can also start managing their savings account with your help, right? Like tracking balances. Maybe if they do want to withdraw money to make a purchase, then they can see how much I'll have left. Also, putting that money into a higher yield savings, so they can see that account kind of grow a little faster and learn about dividends. So this is a good time for that as well. And then middle schoolers, they're ready for some of those bigger concepts, right? So, like how money is actually earned, how that connects to the time and effort that you're putting in, right? Also, how to make more thoughtful purchases. You can also talk about, like how many hours I would have to work to buy this pair of shoes, right? So, it's just something that's a little easier for the child to visualize, right? And they'll probably appreciate um, how you spend your money on them also a little bit more. Um, I know, like with my kids, name brand stuff, they always kind of wanted to keep up with what the cool kids were wearing and that type of thing. So really just like comparing like a Nike hoodie to the generic hoodie, right? So it kind of just led to conversations more about value and worth of things, when it might be worth spending more money on certain items and when it's not, right? So it kind of opens the door to those conversations. This is also a good time to talk about allowances, or, babysitting or mowing lawns in your neighborhood, maybe to earn extra money. So if you are able to provide an allowance, or if your child is already earning a little bit of money here and there, definitely smart to introduce the idea of budgeting for certain activities that might be coming up and things like that. And really just driving home the fact that, budgets are going to help them to not overspend, um, and hopefully that will stay front of mind as they are making more money and growing into adulthood, right? All right, and then high school. So this is really kind of that transition period into adulthood. So here we're focusing on, preparing for the real world, right? So definitely setting financial goals, practicing those savings habits, and really understanding the workforce and earning money. I know when my oldest daughter got her first job, um, when she actually was receiving like a paper paycheck, right, that had the her pay stub with all the breakdown and everything. So we were able to like actually sit down, look at that, look at her gross pay, look at all the deductions that came out, and then this is what you actually get, your net pay. So that really kind of opened her eyes to things a little bit more. Also, we came up with the like a 50/30/20 plan, right? So saving 50% for my needs, and then I gave her a pretty good amount, 30% for her wants, right? And then putting 20% in her savings every time she got paid. So she was able to stick with that. And that really just helped instill that in her to where it just became a habit, right? Where savings just was the easier thing because she'd been doing it for so long. So this is really the time when in high school where they'll see that connection between work and income and how that's going to provide them financial independence if they can use all those things responsibly. All right, so this slide is always one I like to spend a little bit of extra time on because for a lot of kids, online gaming is actually like their first real interaction with money. So even if you know, don't give your child cash at this point or anything like that, they're kind of already understanding the ideas of, buying like skins on their game or upgrading certain things on their games. Or in some games, they actually use like currency, within the game, like virtual currency. So to them, a lot of those purchases are going to feel just as real as buying something at the store, right? A lot of kids are spending a lot of time gaming, so this is important. So, um, a couple practical tips that you can share with your kids. Definitely research games before downloading them, right? Look at reviews and whether the game is going to have a lot of in-app purchases or if it's actually, free to play. Uh, Tell them to always ask a parent or guardian before they're spending real money. A lot of times you have to connect, a credit card or something to these games right off the bat. So can get, out of hand easily in some situations. Also create unique login information that's not used anywhere else. So just like we tell adults, don't use the same username and password over and over and over again. Make sure you have a strong password, all those things. Same for youth accounts or same for, gaming accounts. And your direction will really help them to know why these things matter. And finally, to never give away personal information in chat spaces. Um, and personal information isn't just social security number or, some identifiable piece of information like that, but even just your name or like what city you live in, all these things, right? Just really drive home the importance of not sharing personal information like that. I also encourage families to talk about the difference between real money and game money at this time, right? So kids can really easily lose track when purchases happen just by easily clicking something, right? So a good rule is to treat online purchases the same way you would treat handing over cash to somebody, right? So really instilling that in them. And if a debit or credit card is stored on the account, definitely set up those notifications that will let you know when the card's used or spending limits or sometime games will have that option just so there's no surprises later for your child or you. And this slide here is just a good reminder that scams do not start only after graduation, right? They start while the students are applying for different colleges, applying for financial aid even. So there's definitely been an uptick that we've seen in fraud rings around applying for student loans and Pell Grants in other people's names. So even if your child is not someone who would fall for one of those too good, it's too good to be true type of offer, their identity can still be used if their information is out there, right? So a couple practical things that you can do as a parent here. First, you can check your child's credit report before they turn 18, right? So all you have to have is their social security number and some of the, name, birthday, all the personal information that you would know as a parent or guardian. And you're able to actually check their credit to ensure that nothing has been applied for, opened, loans, credit cards, etc., in their name because obviously that can make for a big mess once, if the child's credit is not checked and then they apply for something after they are an adult and then find out that all this fraud happened under their social security number. So definitely jump on that, checking their credit report, very important. Second, there when we're talking about the FAFSA, different student loan applications, make sure you're always completing those on legitimate websites, right? So if you're ever unsure, kind of a good rule with this is, if you get an email that says, here, click this link and apply for this loan or whatever, just go directly to the source that you know is legitimate before, entering any personal information. Very important there. So big message at the bottom here, warn your kids to be wary of anyone that's willing to pay them for their personal information, like name, date of birth, social security number. Um, you know, a lot of times scammers will try to come across and be like, oh, here, this is all you have to do, and I'm going to pay you, right? It's easy money. Um, so we see, at the credit union, we see this happen a lot with teenagers, college students, things like that. Um, so, you know, one one point that's worth kind of saying out loud here without getting too scary, just tell your kids, if somebody voluntarily hands over their information like this to a bad actor, they can end up really tangled in a bad situation. Um, Definitely is going to create serious headaches later. And they're going to be held accountable, right? It's not always just easily forgiven, or if credit card is opened or something like that, that's still going to remain on their credit. There's no getting out of that. So the safest move is pretty simple. Don't share your information. Don't sell your information. Don't send your information through chat. Just really bottom line. So with fraud, the best protection is really just slowing down. That's what we tell people through all phases of life. Slow down, verify the information that you're receiving. Um, and as we get into the next slide here, you'll see it's not just coming through text messages or emails anymore. Um, AI is also, uh, one type of way that fraud can happen to you. So, deepfake. So, a deepfake is when AI is used to create audio or video that looks and sounds like a real person, even though it's completely fake. Scammers can copy someone's voice from a short video clip or a social media post, right? And then use it to call a parent or a grandparent asking for money, right? So, we have seen this at the credit union before, where this has happened to people, where, a grandmother got a call from what she thought was her grandchild saying, oh my gosh, I lost my phone, or I got into a car accident, or I have a flat tire. I need you to send me money right now. Right. So, in these situations, how do we protect our kids and ourselves, really? So, first, be careful about what personal information goes into AI tools or those online prompts that kids are using a lot these days. Um, don't share all of your personal information with AI. That could definitely be hacked into. Somebody else could access it, probably from all platforms. So just be very wary of that. So even something that seems harmless, like asking AI to write a bio or something like that. If you feed it the child, if the child feeds it, it's their full first name or full name, um, or school they go to, or birthday, right? It's really going to create that detailed profile that scammers could definitely misuse. Second, take time to review privacy settings on social media accounts. That big, huge, long form that we all probably just don't read and click OK. Sometimes there's different things in there that you're agreeing to that you might not want to. So definitely look at those a little bit closer. I know many teens are not going to realize how much of their life is really visible to strangers as they've been online kind of their whole lives, right? Birthdays, pet names, school logos, different sports, all that. All those things that they post about or their interests or hobbies. Scammers can use those to guess passwords or guess security questions, and get into and be able to access some of those accounts. Third, limit the amount of personal information that you share online in general, right? Kind of make it a family rule. Just be, like if you would not hand this information to a stranger in a parking lot, then you probably don't want to post it on the internet, right? So one practical tip that I'll suggest here is creating like a family verification plan. So decide kind of ahead of time before a situation arises. If somebody ever calls asking for urgent money, you hang up, you call them back on a number that you already know. So just that one habit alone can really stop most of those AI voice scams, right? So while AI is definitely a growing tool for scammers these days, it's not the only method they use. So they still use those text messages, right? But it's not only coming through texts on your phone. These are coming through Snapchat accounts, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, right? So definitely not just limited to those random texts that we all get on our phone of people trying to get our information. And for a lot of teens, like these platforms, they feel safe to them. They feel safer than, you know, responding to an email or whatever they might do. So scammers know that, so they it kind of all blends together. The message might look like it's coming from a classmate, right? I've gotten a lot of those in my life as well. It's probably, every week I get 4 or 5 of them, where, someone is posing as someone I know, so I'll respond like it's a friend or something like that. So a few warning signs you can kind of teach your kids to watch out for here. Any messages that create urgency, right? Like, I need you to do this right now. Um, any links that promise free money or gift cards. Um, definitely, once again, if it's too good to be true, probably is. And anyone asking them to move the conversation to a different app or take it offline or to keep it a secret, obviously, um, definitely big red flags. So you don't, the goal isn't to make your kids afraid of technology, but to make them feel more confident when they're using it, right? So one simple habit um, is just to pause before clicking any link, even if it looks like it came from somebody familiar, right? Another tip, you can set up those family expectations ahead of time. So, using we, like this family, we don't share our passwords with anyone. We never send money through social media, right? So that just kind of drives home that this is a family thing. This is what we do. This is what we stick to, right? Something feels weird, we ask an adult first, right? Before clicking, before responding. So, um, also good to, like if you get one of those random texts on your phone where you know that it's a scammer and they're trying to gain some information from you, show your child that and be like, what would you do in this situation? Right. So it kind of gets that conversation going. It kind of feels more conversational than just lecturing your child. And I know that can make a huge difference, especially with teenagers. All right. So I really like this slide. Kind of just reminds us that, teaching kids about money, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's not going to be perfect, though, right? So, a couple things here. First, explore the free resources that you have at hand. You don't need some expensive program or some fancy app to get started, right? We have libraries, we have schools, we have places like the credit union that offer tools that are really built for families. Even something as simple as using a budget calculator together can really kind of help to spark some good conversations. Second, involve others, right? So financial education doesn't have to come from only one parent, right? You want get grandparents in on this, get aunts and uncles, teachers, coaches, right? All those are all going to influence how kids think about money. So, if your child has a part-time job, their manager might be the one who teaches them about direct deposit before you even get the chance, right? So, it's going to be a global thing. Everyone in your community can help. Third, it's okay to ask for help. So, I know a lot of adults tell me, I was never taught this. We hear that all the time, right? So how do I teach my kids? So totally normal. Uh, sometimes, the adults are learning alongside the child, right? And that's actually a really great, powerful example for your kid. So you can be open and admit that I'm figuring this out too. Let's learn this together, right? And then in addition to that, make the learning fun, right? So money doesn't have to feel like math homework all the time. You can turn it into a game at the grocery store, like we talked about. Um, let them plan like a family movie night. And create a budget around it. That's a fun one. And really celebrate when they do reach those savings goals. Like let's set a goal for something that we want to save for, a short-term goal, and then celebrate that once they reach it. The kids definitely going to remember how that made them feel, right? Um, and then finally, most important here, never to, oh, sorry, let me go back real quick. Went a little ahead of myself there. So it's never too late to start, was our last point here. So whether your child is 4 or 14 or heading off to college, that next conversation is the right one. So definitely initiate those, get those going, whatever stage they're at. It's definitely going to help once they reach adulthood. Every little small lesson adds up, right? Okay. So, a couple other things that we have, in addition to just the youth accounts and all the great benefits that come along with those, we offer our Financial 4.0. So, this is our online education hub that kind of caters to teens and young adults. And people in that age range really do enjoy it because it is tailored right to them. They can feel that just with the our articles and the way we write them and things like that. So we also have, in addition to the blog posts that we have on a regular basis, we have podcasts. There's different calculators that they could use and different types of like budgeting tools and things like that. I know like when my son was saving for his first car, or well, he knew he was going to need to get a car loan. He was trying to save money up for the down payment, but he was able to use that auto loan calculator to see, how much of a monthly payment might be for the $10,000 he needed to borrow, um, and kind of was able to see how that would fit into his budget or how much he would be able to take a loan out for at that time. So really, just all these things just help to make these financial concepts, very accessible. And then reverse from those teenage years down to the younger years. This is another one of my favorites, Funtivity Zone. So this really gives kids a hands-on way to practice money skills through different games and activities, instead of, worksheets or something that feels like homework. This is a little bit more fun and interactive. So if you look to the right there, there's that QR code that will take you directly to this resource. So you don't have to hunt for them later. If you want to scan that right now and look later, that's fine. But all the stuff is free, and it's really meant to grow with your child from those elementary years all the way into adulthood. We definitely know the value in that. All righty. So thank you again for joining us tonight. I really hope that you're leaving with at least one new idea that you can implement into your life here with your kids. Whether that's starting that simple conversation about needs versus wants, if they're in that, kindergarten age range, maybe checking a credit report with your teenager, setting up just that one little small savings goal, right? So I hope you can have at least one new idea from tonight's session. And ultimately, remember that financial literacy is built over time, right? So you don't need to know everything all at once. You don't need to do it perfectly, right? But showing your kids that money is something that you can talk about openly is already just a huge step. So thank y'all for being here. I don't see any questions that have come through tonight, so we can probably get wrapped up. You can take this short survey here to give feedback on tonight's session. We always like to hear what y'all think about our financial education programs. We can also get some ideas of what else you would like to see in seminar series or any of our financial education programs that we offer. I see that somebody has their hand raised. Ethel, if you could just text me, or I'm sorry, message me directly through the chat, I can help you with that. Or if you had a question, you can use the Q&A to submit that question. Unfortunately, we can't unmute anyone in this session, so you wouldn't be able to talk with your mic. But I'll hang out here for a moment if you did want to message me. But if not, I hope you all have a great evening, and we hope to see you at another seminar series event soon. Thanks. Oh, okay, yes. How can I access the recording? That was your question. So you can go to youtube.com and find the MSU FCU seminar series playlist. I'll also go ahead and send the link to the Zoom recording before it goes up on YouTube. I can send you all the link with the Zoom recording from tonight. And then there's just a link and a passcode so that you can access that. So I'll go ahead and send that to everyone that attended tonight as well, just in case you want to rewatch or share. We'd love for you to do that. Thank you all for the nice comments. I really appreciate you being here, and we'll see y'all. Bye.